Welcome, welcome to the lovely HP community and the 5D collective. And to those who are on Spotify and YouTube, you can see me. To those who are on our other audio podcast platforms, you can only hear me. And we are having our lovely channeled guidance, food for thought, messages for our equinox that I was going to share yesterday, but that I then decided to share today. So we have a lot going on for the 5D collective. Those are people who are happy, they're functional child adults, and they're navigating their ventral vagal state. So they're in the frequency of love thanks to being able to be anchored in ventral energy when creating resiliency in the restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating life that they lead thanks to an inner growth mindset, mindfulness practices, and mindsight skills, because you sift sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, acronyms, and words that I learned from attachment trauma educators. And as we keep moving forward, I will not always repeat myself. So please do remember, though, I don't learn my own self. I have smart human beings that I learn from. I'm the pseudoscience woo lady. And again, this is a mix of channel guidance, food for thought. Empowered feminines don't get lost in any of spiritual bypasser land. And that's because we own our body and we own ourselves. And so the inner child of Maria is consistently here, and that's why she will always be on a quote-unquote high horse, because when you don't have any master, and that means any master, you don't bow down to anyone, and the securely attached, non-traumatized gaze is of a person who self-regulates in their ventral vagal state independently from whatever you are in. And because Cusco only has 5 poker hands to play, it's not an A2 brute in the way of a teenager who will think, Lucifer, evil, energy vampire, oh my god. No. Okay, so the adaptive child part, I actively notice who they are when they are, and they don't know anything because they're not at the end looking to be with me. They are looking to do nothing. Their trauma time is what I get to be presented with, and like my clown friend and facade friend, I learned how to leave it alone. So insecurities are for the people to heal if they want, not for me to do anything about. Empowered women, men, and theys do not address each other with any of the shame, blame, fault, revenging tones, but they do have a ventral vagal stance. And when they present it to each other, it will always be as a functional inner child adult. So we don't have conditions. We have conversations, because really you accept, respect, and take me as I am, because that's about as straightforward as it gets. Healthy self-worth is what people who are in our 5D collective and our love frequency thanks our brothers and sisters from the fear frequency, because that's how consciousness consistently expands. So I bring science, spiritual, and spirituality together, but I'm pseudoscience lady, so remember, the actual science people, I know exactly where to find them. And with that being said, let us use some of that, which was what came through today. Okay, so empowered feminines are those who are emotionally, mentally, and physically able to stand in their 2 feet with their 2 hands and to use bilateral, vertical, and overall integration, and to want to be in the embodied, equanimous, calm-centered, discerning, wise, good judgment, self, so not self-righteousness, not passing the baton of trauma, not the sympathetic, not modulated, not maladaptive patterns of behavior, which would be drinking, drugging, fucking, and or anything that is sluggishly leading you to continue to be an inner critic, outer critic in your brain, and to lead with a visceral, which is suffering, which is why we have the Zen master and people who want to continue using their temporal junction. Okay, so the empowered feminine does not use their hissy fit, and they do learn the true use of their power. Remember, personal development, self-help. Okay, so the right use of your power is when your body, your empowered feminine, has an open heart. Your gut is you not dating beneath yourself, but also not needing to talk about it as rewiring yourself. Okay, but instead you being self-aware, accountable, and regulating. And with a good therapist like Patrick Tahan, you will actively reparent your inner child. I like Patrick Tahan and Terry Real. They teach you how to love yourself first. So the right use of power of your empowered feminine, that's how you become your own empowered masculine. And now we have a curious, and that's why Krishna Leela is always here for me. And that's a grown-up version, your higher self. So my teenager is into here. I don't need to be heard, and I won't get louder. I will be in my ventral vagal state. And if I do get louder, I will be in the best of my possibility, wanting to be in the community Okay, that's why the 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving person isn't going to be disharmonious. If they are not able to consistently communicate, they will. True leaders are the ones who are not looking to shout over you. The ones who are in their little high horses and self-righteousness. Yes, that word, I looked it up. It's all a low frequency. So you don't know what it means to have integrity. You don't know what calm-centered equanimity looks like. You haven't put into practice your ventral vagal state yet. So I'm not going to do anything about your high horse. I'm going to allow you to do that which you think is doing something impressive. It's not though, but it's trauma time. That's what I get to let you all in on. Fun fact, pause self people, they like to be in their 16-year-old with modulated. I've seen them in my courses. That's why they're not interesting to us, because they disregard what they just got explained about how their body is in distress. There's an adaptive pattern that they could handle and have if only they stopped doing that on a merry-go-round. But as Pat Ogden points out, the body hasn't metabolized it all. So sensory, motor, EMDR, child parts work. And as Patrick Tehan, Bezel Van der Kolk, Dr. Daniel Fox, Dr. Daniel Siegel, and more, Janina Fisher, they would have to need to want to get out of the self-righteousness baton and continuing their trauma. They don't. They're cowards. And actually what it is the modern day therapists are trying to imprison you. So they like to follow people who tell them that shit so that they can stay in their drama time. Trauma time. What I'm going to let you know, yeah, we don't have to make all people want to be in the resiliency of the restorative embodied, self-aware. I'm eustressed. I love it. And that's who's going to come here at IHP. That's the 5D collective. Love. Love. It isn't in I'm going to stand in my sympathetic. In fact, it's actually quite nice when you are finally back to your true self. That's the download I got as I was back into the pure consciousness state. I was like, I'm back to me again. Oh, this feels so awesome. And I remember my body was all soft and everything. So the power of our community is that we get curious, open, accepting, and loving. And we use the right for us, again. So for the restorative embodiment people, the right use of our power, of our mind, is the integrated brain with the integrated vertical overall. Okay, so the ones who want modulated, they say, no, the right power is me. And you say, okay, you leave it alone. I'm not kidding. Okay, so when I've seen them in my classes, we don't be like, no, you have to do it the way we want you to. No, it's actively, okay, hold on. Let's try it again. Here is what a trauma charge is. Here is what your sympathetic does. Here is how your brain is working. So they get it explained. Guess what happens when you're in classes when this is happening? And you don't have what I just said. Okay? So I'm an empowered feminine, which is why I'm smart. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. My 14-month-old, she's great. And she's not pissy in her pants. She's just herself. So when we're in our ventral vagal stance, we look just like the ones who are pissy in their pants. Difference is we're in ventral energy. That's why equanimity. It's calm and centered. Doesn't necessarily look like that, but our body is in eustress versus distress. Okay, that's why you can't prove it outside. I know it on inside because I went through the transformative process. As I said, no, I don't want to vent anymore. It's yucky energy. And I have the introception. So that's the sixth sense. Okay. So great, when you have a body and a mind and a brain, that is one, it's the embodied brain, but when they communicate, that's why it's a somatic. Maria has a mind body that is in, I believe the word is somatic harmony. I'm able to let you know why resiliency is easy for me in the restorative embodiment. I choose it. And that's when dealing with unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, unexpected, which brings me to our equinox. So for me, I've been dealing with things that have been in a consistent, you don't hear about it because it's my personal life and I don't plan on sharing it with you all. Just so you know I share a lot of stories, but that's with the oversoul and then my subjective opinions in that. But this is where it's personal, what I'm actually dealing with. So when it was presented to me, I knew a little bit of this and that. My conversations with God are consistent. And actually, it's quite hilarious because, the conversations and the downloads are in this 2 seats, okay? But I'm familiar with this as a feminine who's empowered, and I'm a mystic. So again, since as a teenager, I have a relationship with God because I was an adolescent who was raised with catechism. And I thank my catechists because they all taught me what God really is. discerning, equanimous love. And we can also thank my mother because that's the type of grown up I had, and my twin and my body. Okay, so we all have our child parts. They are always with you. And she's all here. And so when she stands, she will stand like this and she won't back down, which is why it'll look just the same to any human being out there. And when they're using their words like the Zen master, the only difference is I know I don't suffer life because that's disrespectful. Because when I was told that I was given a gift called life and a miracle from God and that people killed themselves, I was like, that's a sin. And the last time I actually took a stand on it in a certain way, I remember that I got explained by this very, very special human being. Maria, some people really suffer life. Like, they don't want to live. Like, it's so tiresome that they're talking to me. And I'm like, my heart's breaking as they're telling me this. Have no attachment trauma education. This was in the beginning of my clairs. In fact, this is one of my lovely twin flames. And as I'm hearing them, I'm like, wow, that's like heartbreaking. Wow, that's just, And that was the moment of truth where I'm like, well, pretty sure God wouldn't want anybody to suffer like this. Like, that's not God. God's not a monster. I mean, yeah, sure, the Lucifer thing, but there's no Lucifer. And Patrick McNamara and all the sciences prove that. And as a mystic, I've been to the lower planes. No Lucifer to be found, no monster. And when people keep on trying to tell me that there is, they look at me and, what you're doing is dangerous. I'm like, you obviously don't know what trauma charge is or what self-loathing gut wrench is according to how I've learned it. So I'm not going to do anything. And that's it. And I don't deal with ignorance. I know what is learning. So in my courses, when I'm having those who are ignorant, as they look for shortcuts to sell people shit that isn't going to bring them to their actual heaven in the body, because there's no shortcuts in life. Did nobody teach you that? I remember learning it. Again, God, mom, all of it. No shortcuts. I don't need a shortcut. Why would I want a shortcut? I've been gifted the most amazing thing called life. Because I know that when I die, I won't be here. And that's why it's not hard to be mindfully aware from the depths of your being that you will die without knowing. So here's why motivation is your own, and your first years of life do matter, as Robert Sapolsky with Determined points out. So for me, been very straightforward because I have a good childhood. I'm happy inside my ventral vagal state. I'm mindfully aware. I've been guided, thanks to God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, to appreciate. And, for me, I am of faith, but you don't prove faith to anybody, okay? That's why science, spirituality, when they come together, they don't disprove what I learned from God or my catechist. No, actually, every single child out there, all 8 billion growing, can get their inner child to be a functional inner child adult and navigate their ventral vagal state. But not every one of them wants that. And that's why they have those 7 to 14, not charming to me, they're idiots to me, but they're charming to the ones who want to sit on their little self-righteous stools actively with effective realism, which means they also have cognitive dissonance, structural dissociation, and they think their thoughts and feelings and their values, the way they speak it, is fact. Oh, they don't even bother with noticing you don't have facts in your fucking mouth. You got a subjective opinion with a bunch of y'all, which is very great. Have a fun time. I know where facts are. It's called empirical data analysis, and I won't be discrediting them because I'm of faith. No, actually, God didn't tell me, be stupid, Maria. Fall for bullshit, Maria. Nope, not even closely. No. The only idiots who fall for any of that are the same ones who are actively, in my book, let me think, idiots. That's how I got it. So when someone tells me neuroscience, they don't believe in Patrick McNamara, I'm like, I'm the woo-woo pseudoscience lady. Like, really, you don't want to believe in neuroscience? Okay, though, you cannot prove to people who are deciding to not take sciences and their empirical data and their findings seriously. But let's remember that we have two groups of them. That's why we have a split. So we have a group of scientists who go against their very same own colleagues. In fact, they'll say, my colleagues are against me, as they interpret data to their volition. The same group of people will talk to you about manipulation, and they will talk to you about motivate, and they will talk to you about every single one of these little things, and I will talk to you about this. If you don't own your 3-year-old, I will know, because you are not going to use curiosity or fun, and when I'm around you, I will know of how to be completely in my ventral vagal state, because I'm an empowered feminine, which means I'm a nurturer. And so when I meet masculines, I know their potential. And then I'll know Cusco's 5 poker hands, which is why my clown friend, I thank him to death. So when people are ignorant, they have low self-esteem, and they don't choose to go to people like Patrick Tiahan to get completely integrated in their brain. And they look for shortcuts when they're told that that doesn't happen, snap and done. It takes time. And that's how people who are growing up continue to disregard those who know more about how our embodied brain works than their personal stories. But teenagers are on a journey to prove themselves, and that's why the 4D, 3D aren't going anywhere. So for the people who are the 5D collective and do Dharma, we consistently expand. And that's why when dealing with unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, and unexpecteds, again, the right use of our power is a mind that has a brain that is integrated. And we don't do cognitive dissonance or structural dissociation, and we don't have Peter Pan Wendy's as masters of ourselves. No, we don't follow any of those who are cut off from Purusha and Prakriti. Those who are cut off from pure consciousness, they're cut off from unconditional love, and they're cut off from their whole 3-year-old because they're defective with shame, blame, fault, revenge, and they want to use the same self-righteous bad manners in their sympathetic that were used with them, which is why their imagination is full of inner and outer criticism and the Lucifer word and the evil word, and they just keep on having a way to talk about each other as monsters because their faith in humanity was broken. And as Patrick Tiahan points out, their unkindness could be healed, as could their faith, but they decide to ignore the very one person who's healing and helping those who have childhood trauma know how to be able to get out of it all. But then again, there's attachment coaches who say secure attachment is boring because, people like to be in their visceral. And that's where, again, the split is clear. Even the fancy woman in her suit, as she manipulated words, the modern day therapists are trying to imprison you. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Her 3-year-old wants to come out, and it's already out, which is why she also then goes ahead and says it's dangerous to have no emotions. It is not inherently true that you are enlightened and healthy if you're non-reactive. She's actively taking smart somatic therapist data research and telling you that it's not true and to be in your sympathetic, which again, I've seen those who are wanting to be in their sympathetic and re-traumatize themselves because they're used to pseudo-aliveness. That's how their inner child knows how to feel alive. So they will continue to want to expose themselves to the very same environment that their household was, which is why, again, nobody's going to force anybody to get into the restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, resiliency life. It isn't a must. They can keep doing distress. I, in fact, am very much aware of this. Again, love is one angle, fear is the other. And we even have those who will let you know how, the first very essential truth to what is Buddhism is that this existence we're living in, it's connected with suffering. Da-da-da. Oh, wait, what? If you say, no, it's not true, then you don't need to follow Buddhism. I don't, in fact. I just talk about Buddhism. No, I don't. I talk about spirituality. Buddhism, by the way, and Buddhists is great to know a little bit about. I don't know everything, but what I can tell you is that Zen master must follow this because he tells you how life is always full of laundry. So the ones who suffer, what I can say is they could learn to use their prefrontal cortex, but they're so used to using their temporal junction and ruminating, and they're okay with the ups and downs because they don't want to serve. Again, it's a choice. Their right use of power is to be in ups and downs and merry-go-rounds, and they're out. By the way, I do remember when I was in the ocean. Yes, so the ocean of Maria was the same as anybody else's ocean because our adolescent brain has a way that it will be engaging in life. So I would have hissy fit just like anybody else, but I learned how to mindfully, with mindset skills and the inner growth mindset, be in my prefrontal cortex. This is why I learned about neutrality and duality as I was finishing up the inner growth mindset course, the 3rd level. And I don't like creating levels, but I realized that people needed a couple of steps before they could be open to neutrality and duality. So when you're dealing with unknowns, unexpecteds, and unwanteds from within you, you open the heart, you stay open-hearted, and you go with the flow, which neuroscientists will tell you is not supernatural. It's part of your human makeup. So smart, empowered feminines are who come to IHP, and that's stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. They like the right use of power with curiosity. So they like to be able to be curious, open, accepting, and loving of all of our community. And so we don't do there's a Lucifer or an evil or a Knievel medieval or a good. There's no superheroes, supervillains. in the 5D Mystic, Spiritual, Mindful, Living, Loving Collective here at HP. It's we take healing trauma seriously, we leave alone the ones who don't, and because we have healthy self-worth and we are securely attached, differentiated selves who are non-traumatized, we don't regulate in sympathetic. When I'm in the presence of a paused, adaptive child self, I will pause myself and I will be done, and I will not continue. And I will maintain my ventral vagal stance. Now, if I notice that I'm not, that's my opportunity to master consistently the physical plane. So you get to expand, which is really fun. Okay, this is why we do know as empowered feminines that we will have our pre-birth challenges set up with the souls that we encounter. And so that's why we don't have questions about any of our oversoul. And that's why for those of you who are mystics, if you're an empowered feminine, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, give me a minute and I'll talk to you a little bit. Okay, so what this other enlightened being I got to learn from shares is that the souls decide what they want to learn. They decide their objectives, their experiences. They decide what roles they're going to play in each other's lives. This is an interview by one of those great channels that are on YouTube. Okay, and so you get to find that out if you want in between life regressions, stuff like that. Okay, I'm not cultured in using words like dictionaries, just so you know. So please do not assume that I'm using it in a dictionary form. Just assume always it's Maria's way, and Maria's way doesn't mean anything more than me, the human being with a 3-year-old in the lead, and I have used erroneously words, and I still will. So just FYI. Okay, how do we, no, that's not important. Between life, soul regression. Okay, so long story short though, you will have chosen all of that which you will experience, and that's with other souls. Okay, so I don't do the soul contracts ending or not ending. I'm just letting you have the capacity to hear about how, for those of the spirituality mystic plane, you will know this, which is why you won't be talking about brothers or sisters as energy sisters, energy vampires, dark wars. They're not all brothers and sisters. My point is, though, they're part of you and you of them. That's why Anima Mundi, you accept all, reject none. A restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person lives grace and bliss consistently because we're anchored in our ventral energy right here. Then when you're downloading, channeling, and you're consistently being able to be there, Akashic Record Reader, Reiki Master, Tarot Oracle card, it's because of being a integrated brain with a default mode network that is down-regulated. I don't scan Maria, and I don't scan you, and I don't need an interpreter because I have a direct relationship. That's why I'm the channeler, downloader, psychic gifts, intuitiveness. Even the smart scientists look into it. So perception and remembrance. We all will have our own unique perspective, but because we're aware of it, we put our emotions and thoughts aside, our biases, our stuff, the human stuff. Doesn't mean it's exempt. No, it's there. Which is why somebody says, you're here too. Yes, I am. But I can put it here. At the same time, I won't disregard it either. So if you're pointing something out to me, I will remember that Maria is here. And of course, my ego is here too. Okay, so it's not a good or bad thing. It's an actual thing. I am a vessel. I am a vehicle, which means I'm still filtering. So any word I use, it comes from my past. And yes, there are things that we will download that we will never have come across. But still, as a logical, rational, emotional, tangible human being, an empowered feminine can be aware my ego is here, so Maria comes with. And if somebody has something to say about it, I don't deny it, because why would I deny a part of me? Okay, so when you have spiritual bypassers and those who claim to be completely pure as a vessel, I call bullshit, because you have a body. Your body began storing implicit memory from the fetus, and I learned from smart people, and scientists are not going to be not real to a person who is logical and rational. Actually, they give me a lot of answers that point me always, yep again. And so when I meet teenagers, all I can tell you is, hey Cusco, what's up? 4D 3D are going to keep being Cuscos to a person like me, and they won't notice that they don't remember who they are because they actively think their perspective is the right one. No, it's not. It's your subjective perspective from whatever you think is objective. And when we want to use a play of words, I'm thinking empirical data is very specific and I'm going to know where to find it. Anything else is a random chit chat, which if it's in social time, I'm not even going to be considering it in a way of let me make it. It's not. I don't need it. You know, what I need, air, environment, water. I need to drink, food. That's the very three most essential parts that my brain will look at for empirical data, if you will. That's how I'm trying to explain it, which is why when it comes to people not wanting to relate to different groups of people, it's a subjective interpretation. Go for it. I mean, social soul age group, that's why we have the societal and the relationship soul age group. I'm in the enlightenment soul age group. So I'm not concerned with that, which is something that people are still learning about themselves with. When I say I'm not concerned, what I'm saying is, yes, I know there's empirical data for those groups too, and I have social sciences as my background. Humanities and social science. I'm a political science major, and I have international relations and diplomacy as my master's, so I already understand how the system works. Okay, now with our lovely equinox, the power of community is that the 5D collective, we're curious, open-hearted, accepting, and loving, and we know how to use our mind and our brain and our body, which is why we come together and we're diverse. So we don't tell people that they can't use God, Akash, Source, Universe, Anima Mundi, however they want. No, we actually just have a good time making fun of the ones who don't. No, we have a good time together. We know that Earth isn't punishing us, and that what's happening with our lovely tectonic plates, with those volcanoes, Vesuvius, whatever it is. Well, Vesuvius is in Naples, Italy. But you've been hearing, I'm sure, about all of that. Earthquakes, it's been going on for a while already. But some activity has been accentuated, I think is the right word. So I know of the Schumann resonance. I follow a guy. He's really good with Schumann and space weather. And then I also follow Neil deGrasse. And when I bring it all together, again, we're not being punished. So people who continue, the elemental community continue to think of humans as pieces of shit. I already know the elementals because I looked into it as I got my own clairs. And apparently the reason they have children is so that they may be a little bit more forgiving towards human beings who they detest. So the fact is, if you know that you detest human beings and you're actually thinking of them as needing to be punished, that means your faith in humanity was broken, and Patrick Tiahan would be helpful for that. No, I don't want to hug a tree. I want to hug a person, but of course I want trees to be able to be here because, again, I need air. So I'm a logical, rational being who won't be making it an all or nothing thing. Okay, so what my point is here is stories can fill in the blanks of things that science can also fill in the blank. And so anytime I'm hearing somebody not care about the environment, I'm just like, okay, you obviously don't know what Earth is or how long-term works, and you telling me that it's okay to bring children but not giving a shit about doing something about the environment because you don't believe in the scientists, I'm gonna think you're contradicting, and I don't like it. I care for children of the future, so every single day when I wake up, whatever it is I can do to help the environment, I will do, and I look forward to meeting smart entrepreneurs and smart everyone's who's going to be continuing to put their feet forward, but not say Mother Earth is punishing you and there's demons coming out of the earth because of the volcanoes and whatever fuck's. Excuse me, did you not learn about tectonic plates? I don't understand. You didn't learn geology basics. I mean, I'm stupid, but didn't you hear? Oh, you don't believe in any of it anymore. I see. Rabbit hole, anyone? So when I hear rabbit holes, Alice in Wonderland, I just think, sure, Matrix, Bill Nye says it well. Even if it's real, you think you're going to prove it? That's how a logical, rational brain works. We don't need a superhero, supervillain story. And that's why the 5D mystic community, spiritual, mindful, again, living, loving people, we bring all of it together. I do. So as the equinox energies, again, come and go, and this is like the ascension, and it's going to keep on being here. What I can tell you is we have a good time. 4D, well, they do the same karma wheel, and it's okay. We don't have to tell them anything, okay? So again, the Earth is doing just great and dandy. It has its own actual timeline. I'm ignorant on all of those timelines. I know a gist of it, but I know that space weather matters. So the sun matters, the infinite galaxy beyond, and I do know of that. I believe it's like a bit of a theory or whatnot of how when you focus on something, you're creating it, which is why we have scientists who want to use AI to disprove reality. So again, we can go down any rabbit hole we want, but that's not going to help our brothers and sisters of the future. Okay? So the future is in our hands, and staying grounded in reality means that anything that comes out of your mouth, as that Sam Harris quote that I've read to you a gazillion times, doesn't mean it's true. It can be falsifiable. But when you care in a way of being grounded, which is what an empowered feminine cares about, for as much as those who are empowered masculines think we're ridiculous, if they're truly empowered, they will know we're not ridiculous. Because an empowered masculine will know exactly what an empowered feminine cares about, because we are nurturers. There's no way in fucking hell that I don't care about every single child that will be born, and I can't do everything, and I don't need to on my own, because we have 8 billion people, and guess how many are smart? Plenty. Robert Spolsky, come on in with determined. It don't matter if we got 3D, 4D, we got 5D. They're the intelligent ones, and they don't have to be spiritual. In fact, that's not what is going to save the future. Sciences and spirituality come together, and those of us who are empowered feminines are humbled by those who are empowered masculines and those who are sciences. Why? I know who God is, and I know God always wins, and I know who Mother Earth is, and I know who nature is, and I know how to be in silence in the complete darkness of the unknown, because I am a person that comes with faith, and God decided my fate, and I don't ask questions, which is why any human being in flesh can come in my face and call me whatever words they may want, and they can continue using Lucifer's name as they will want to. I know who they are there for, and it's a sad story that I won't be sharing. What I know tomorrow will be is something called okay, because that's how our human species always has evolved. Also, I have a future life here on Earth with a future husband, and I know that those who are not mystics don't believe in this shit, but I don't just believe. I am a mystic, and I know what place I'm leaving in the future, and I know exactly why I'm leaving with that human being, because I asked. When you're an Akashic record reader and you're an empowered feminine, you already know who your oversoul is. You don't need anyone to tell you. And no, there's no energy vampires or dark auras. And when we anchored ourselves in, those of us of source and spirit and God and however many different words we all will use, to earth, we can also accept that it's a story that our secondary human consciousness will have given us, so that we will have meaning in life. Because as evolutionary psychologists and existential ones talk about, our human secondary consciousness knows that we die, knows that we live, and there's that thing of why? Why do I exist? And wanting to find meaning. I have meaning. My name's Maria, but my point is that I can rationalize and give you science, spiritual, and spirituality, and tell you human evolution and consciousness walk and work hand in hand, and the love and fear that continue to coexist are the reason why we are able to make embodied that which is not conceivable by the human mind. And this is actively something that we will not be talking about. And evolutionary downloads, recalling power, future thinking, Arcturian light codes. Okay, so the future is going to be just fine and dandy. It just won't look the same way like this year 2025, and I'm not a geologist. Again, I'm not able to explain all of that, which is tectonic plates, water, sun, and I believe in the sciences. I mean, the word belief is ridiculous. I am a person who knows of knowledge, and it's amazing. And I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, not the spiritual Soul Age group. So myself is completely fulfilled in being a human being. And so with the equinox, there's that light and dark, good and bad. I don't use the word bad, because if I do, I'm thinking of how everybody casts stones to each other, and I learned how not to with God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. And I apologize to God, because I had been casting stones. You're good, you don't do drugs. You're bad, you do drugs. You're good because you follow the law. You're bad because you don't. You're good because you are actively joining this group or that group. You're bad. And then I realized that it's all bullshit. And that there are those who think of the, let's now make criminals better than the lawmaker. No. Let's have discerning, smart fucking human beings, please, who know wise judgment, which means you put your biases to the side, emotional charges and all that. Become a functional adult, please. Like a terrorial, bare minimum. Learn to use your fucking brain, and then we'll be talking. And don't give me the good, bad shit, because it's reductive to say the least, especially when you got a bunch of children who are teenagers, who are spiting their own selves and humanity, and they continue to use Lucifer's name. That's how I'm going to bring it to you. So they're not equanimous. They don't even know half of how to be anything like that fancy lady in her suit. Anyone who brings to me their pause self and sympathetic is an ignorant human being who's dumbed down, and I have 4'9". I can't do anything. Here's what an empowered feminine can tell you. I know I was made small, and that's because had I been big, pretty sure Kali would have just not given two shits about what the fuck was going on, because that's exactly what happens when you have an empowered feminine seeing those who treat children in ways that are very, 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 very again, I am using different stories. Sadhguru has shared it, and I'm an empowered feminine who cares about the 0-1-year-old. So when I say children, I mean that every person who has their 1-year-old attached panicky and their 3 to 7 shame submissive, I will rise from the ashes, and but I don't do that because I learned how not to. So this energetic shift that is the one that I get to embody and go through, what I can tell you is, wow, it's cool to be able and pick up on when you're doing Dharma, because that's how downloads work. So the ones of you who are aware of yourself, if you are mystic and spiritual, you noticed that you've expanded light body. If, on the other hand, you're an empowered masculine, then you will have expanded in the opportunity to make real that which you want to create in life. You will be presented with also those who are empowered masculines talk about successes and failures, because they have to compare things, because their logical brain is what is consistently invasive compared to their emotional aspect. The empowered feminine sits well at ease because they will finally be able to rest, even though some of us don't want to really rest, but we will be brought to rest. That's a recent one that we'll talk about at a certain point. But my point is that the empowered feminines expand spiritually and their light body, and you feel it and you're like, okay. And so the body has to rest on a cellular level, because that's how it will work. No, there's no proof. Please stop with the proof thing. The spiritual people who want to bring in proof, they really, again, every group has their group. And I'm just saying that rest is actually part of expansion, but you won't be destabilized. If you have moved into after the rainbow body, so there's like light body, light body, light body. Every one of you might be different. I had a bunch of then rainbow. I had my Kundalini awakenings. I had 2 of them. Then I had consistent panic attacks as my energy body was expanding, picking up on the earth, all these things that are something very discussed. The difference is your ego don't die. The ego death bullshit. No, but what I'm going to say is, again, empowered feminines expand light body, empowered masculines expand their capacity to build what they want. We will both equally be reminded of that which will have come prior. So in the masculine's case, empowered, again, they will be looking at success and failure, but they will be brought to be logical in an equanimous and discerning way to allow themselves to shift into self-acceptance. I'm crooked, meaning I'm flawed, meaning I can use some compassion in here. That's why the empowered feminine brings them that softness, so that they can be rigid, but with softness, so that they can then become kind, firmness towards themselves, and them can rest with the failures from yesterday's, the successes that are going to be tomorrow. And so the empowered masculine is able to have their wiggle room dance with this empowered feminine of their own, but also with an empowered feminine counterpart, which the empowered counterparts are very important to each other. So for the empowered feminine, it will be an empowered masculine who is consistently able to show up, to actively show a sense of physical, material security, not spiritual, okay? And that's because you create both in spirit and matter. But again, the feminine is empowered in the way of, my light body's expanded, I'm going to be brought to rest on a cellular level. It's not good or bad. Each will know what they are, and you have both anyways. And you have your own empowered feminine, which is that body. And again, the body stores trauma charges, muscles, bones, and tissues. If you have all your child parts asleep, they're not orphaned, great. Then you will know of expanding, like I have been sharing with you consistently throughout the years of our channel guidance, Food for Thought. If, on the other hand, there are deeper things, we don't talk about this here because that would require a whole other set of chit-chats. It's not necessary because you're a big collective and there's a variety. But energetic shift, new information, end of a cycle. Anunnaki light codes. Okay, so again, empowered feminines, empowered masculines, expanded. Let me grab this. I wanted to allow you to see our lovely chamber of the violet flame, karmic release, radical transformation. Okay, so the Dharma is a lot more straightforward, but it doesn't mean that it's in the absence of you dealing with uncertainties. No, life consistently will roll out with things that are unexpected and unwanted and uncertain. You will know if you are actively in this dharma because you metabolize, emotions come up, thoughts come up, you're sifting with the sensations, images, feelings, thoughts. I know it sounds silly, but with the inner growth mindset that I've talked to you consistently about, neutrality and duality, and it doesn't mean good or bad. Light, dark, good, bad. This is where it's not using words anymore, because unlike the Zen master who doesn't realize the power of words, so when he says he goes through laundry, it's not laundry. Once you have the capacity to consistently be focused in the attention and then in awareness work with the personality patterns and the overall nervous system, thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel, he's the one who helps me to explain to you, humanly speaking, what that which is an integration of the brain process, because mindfulness brings you integration of brain, because you own the sense of self, core, narrative, relational, solo self. So I own all of it. I have a differentiated self. I have my higher self in the lead. My child parts are not orphaned and they're not charged, and I'm not going to be playing out karma or fate. Nope, I'm my own destiny. Everything happens for a reason. Every action has a reaction, and everything that is meant to come my way will come my way, and God will have already, for Maria, decided it. This is why there's not a destined counterpart. That's a bullshit word. And the 4D has stories for you. And that's why they completely disrespect, in my personal subjective opinion and my spiritual experience, masculines and feminines and all of that, which is instead the most amazing of gifts that you will ever feel you will have been gifted. The fact of being able to have clairs and to be able and tap into your oversoul and beyond. And here's the sad news though, it don't make a fucking difference. As an empowered feminine, I have since the year 2007 known of first Twin Flame 1, Twin Flame 2, Twin Flame 3, soulmates, oversoul, bunch of people, mystics and not. And guess what? It doesn't matter what I will have presented to you, because I am simply put Maria, and you will simply put be you. Use your name. Thank you very much. You have an ego. Awesome. Do you own it? Do you own your sense of self, and do you own it with integrity? And do you have your ventral vagal state is what I'm going to ask you in the forefront, and do you use your prefrontal cortex, or do you use some sad-ass fucking story like a bunch of other people that I've heard, like my clown friend who continues to live. So the reason God tells me to not judge suffering is that because I find my friend a buffoon, but he taught me how not to address any buffoon, which is why I don't. So if I see you doing maladaptive patterns of behavior or adaptive child, I'm not going to get in any way, shape, or form involved in that. And I can thank my entire oversoul for teaching me how to mind my own business, because that's exactly why I walk a walk and talk a talk. There's a saying my lovely mother taught me: who does for themselves does for three. Robert Spolsky determined, come on in. So no, you have no free will. I don't have free will either. I'm okay with that. What I can tell you is that I live eustress, and every day of my life grows more loving. Yes, and when people don't like that we're anchored in our ventral energy, we don't give a shit, because actively today with therapists, all I know is that they're choosing to disregard their inner child, which is why God keeps telling me not to judge. The spiritual people tell me about pre-birth challenges. I could give two shits about this challenge shit, because I'm thinking I have practical ways to help you to get out of that. And you want me to stand here and be what? And so, again, this is the reason why people will think that we are cocky. Who's we? Confident human beings is who's we, with information, which is also why I got taught how to stop playing the know-it-all, Maria. Thanks, God. So I'm presenting to you, when you know what you know, what you know, what you know, and you see idiots in front of you every single day, you don't want to waste your time with the idiots. As a teenager, it was a very straight shooter. Yes, no, maybe, and you don't cut it. And so when people will have said, oh, but you are snob. No, I'm not. You're picky. No, selective. Ah, yes, I'm so sorry. Do you hang out with all people? I'm just wondering, because really, this is what you're making me ask right now is, are you friends with everyone? But you said you love all people. Love doesn't mean that my amygdala finds you interesting, because essentially, if you're not intellectually, emotionally, or physically available, I'm actively already somewhere else, and you interrupting me. Excuse me, you're confusing science, spirituality. Just wasted an entire 5 minutes of my time while I was having a very important conversation. That's how it feels when you're in the presence of 3-year-olds who have shame, blame, fault, revenge, and a teenager that's wasting my time. And I'm a teenager? No, I'm a higher self. I'm a human being who knows discernment, equanimity, and when I'm dealing with what is trauma time. People don't like what they don't like because their 1-year-old and 3-year-old doesn't want. No, their 16-year-old is spiting themselves. I learned from Peter Levine what happens when you share unconditional love with a person who believes themselves to be evil. Dr. Daniel Fox also explains it. Doesn't make me happy. No, made me cry, made me sad, and made me think, wow. And never once did they question that they are actively pointing a finger at me, calling me evil bitch, Knievel witch, whatever the fuck they're coming up with. Not only not telling me to my face, but then that they have the capacity to continue making up shit. My mind's blown away by all of this. There ain't no Lucifer. What I got is a pathology. And then I'm thinking, shit, they won't be aware of the mustard that they got on their fucking chin. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Fox. That was really helpful. Smart people explain to you why people are delusional, and then people who are delusional don't notice that they're delusional, but they're really not delusional in the way of the movies, which is why I don't think of any person as dangerous. Nope, I actively know exactly how the gut works. Gabor Mate, what was it about gut? Doesn't work well. When people disregard going to Patrick Tiahan, what was it, Patrick Tiahan? When they're not safe and loved in their own home, they'll go in any bed that will take them. And what do? Date beneath themselves. Lo and behold, I have answers for pretty much any kind of that which would be called human suffering, and I do it this way because I actively can help the societal relationship soul age group, and they don't want any of it. They'd rather follow coaches and consultants who tell them about stereotypes between men and women, talk about each other like pieces of shit, and in the meantime the sociologists are divided on how they're going to talk about the gender divide. And I'm thinking men and women who are empowered could do a really great job at sharing. It's not polyamory or monoamory that makes you a man or a woman who loves, or the vows, or the integrity. It's not the church, it's not God, it's none of that. It's actively, are you a securely attached and untraumatized human being with all your child parts okay and your higher self? Or are you one of the other morons who decided to not believe in any of it? And I'm only 3 years in trauma informed, which is where I'm like, as I settle into this as Maria, the human being who's got an ego, self, and a brain. And that's again why God just keeps redirecting me, because he knows what I know. And he knows exactly how I want to play it, and he gives me the little nudges. While Sadhguru talks about Akash and Source, now I talked about God, because God's actively the one and only with Jesus that was very much a straight shooter. Don't you dare want to be like anybody else. If you envy, jealousy, spite, I gave you a gift. It's called life. You better appreciate it. And here's my son. Follow him. I love Jesus. Jesus is awesome. So, with that being said, I don't suffer because Jesus suffered for me, and it would be very disrespectful to disrespect the very gift of life and sound like a whiner when God gave me 2 hands, 2 feet, and actually a brain to think, and actually I don't want a reward for being a kind human being. I forgave. That sounds pretty much disrespectful and like I'm asking God for a gift because I did what is the right thing, which is be a decent human being. Kind. Yes, choosing kindness apparently is something people want a reward for. They even have a spectrum for selflessness. And I'm like, yeah, are we done with that? Because of knowing how that will be get used by those, I'm selfless. We're all selfish. Don't plug my fucking nose. I will want air for myself. And the thing is, I'm 4'9", so I will most likely not be able to protect myself physically. I'm just saying, if you're rational, objective, you'll understand why everyone will try to be alive and no, not selfish in the my faith in humanity was broken way. Those are all the teenagers out there who continue to think that some torture shit was happening to them more than to somebody else, while I will know one of who actively I feel so sad for. And it's all the people who are raised in environments that are completely childs being raped, mothers, all of that. And then having people who tell them to go and marry in church. It's not the church that teaches you integrity or vows. No, actively you got priests marrying people off when they tell them, I love another woman. I've been told this. And in confession, you're telling the priest you love another woman and they're saying, yes, I will allow you to marry. I would be like, okay, look, dude, you want to go first to therapy, do some shit about this, then come back around once you know how you can commit, because this is absurd that you're confessing to me this right now. That's what a rational, grounded human being would do. It wouldn't be, let me give you some fancy approval like that, because I would care that your marriage is successful. I would also care about the vow you're about to make if I actively cared about it from the depths of me versus just using my words, blah, 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 which is what the left mode does. The left moders think that them using words means something of substance. You using words means shit to me. I'm going to watch how you walk, talk, and everything. And by the time you're done, you won't even know what hit you, quote unquote. Because that's what inconsistent people do, is that they switch it up. I can't rely on you. Nothing you say is true. And whatever it is that it is true, you don't even notice it. So this is why it's not a Lucifer and evil. It's an idiot who today, I can tell you, needs a therapist. FYI, the teenagers like to make things out to be bigger than they are. As a person who does take seriously all of that which is gender, what I wish is that we would have more smart, empowered people who didn't have a chip on their shoulder, which instead they do. When you have a trauma charge, you got a chip on your shoulder and you want bystanders to take your side and go punish the other side, which is a 14-month-old of a version of a person. I would love to see smart women and men have conversations. Polyamory, monoamory, marriage in church, not in church, it doesn't matter. When we have people beating each other and all of that, it's because of a multifaceted, in-depth conversation that is not reducible or reductive in 2 fucking words or in a subject matter. Because if I go to environments that are of poor people, they will be being taught that it's okay for mom to get beat up. They will be being taught that if you're not jealous and you don't possess me, you don't love me. That child will have grown up in that environment, and this is all over the globe, not just some places, but we all also just come from certain parts. So I can tell you about my American Italian culture and how in Italy, doesn't matter north or south, that there's ideas such as jealousy, meaning you love me, and that there are people who are healthy jealous, if you will, but then there are those who not, and it's not about man or woman. That there are women who will have interjected where a man will have tried to protect them physically from being beaten, and they're beating him and saying, get the fuck out of my business with my man. There are women who will say, if he doesn't beat me, he doesn't love me. So this is the part of why anytime I'm hearing about anything, man or woman, if they want me, I don't pick a side. I'm a human. And yes, I can stand as a woman with other women because men are physically more powerful than me. So that's just a smart thing to do. But no, I won't pick the bear instinctively. I will pick the man. And then I'll say, can I pick who it is? And that doesn't mean that I think of you as safe for sure. No, because my mind will always know that there's that 0.1% that you snap and done. Some shit happened to you as an infant and you don't even know it. And you're offline. And I took a chance. What can I do? There's nothing that will stop any of that, which is unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds in life. But if you're looking over your shoulder every single second, it's a sign. Therapy. Not relationships. When you see people who completely don't trust humanity, again and again, I will have been brought this since as a kid. And I think you don't trust yourself. Because the minute you continue to shit on humans, you don't trust who you are. You're a human, dude. You do that, whatever the fuck, you're a person. No, it's not true. Thank you, Patrick Tihan. You and the faith that you have in humanity. If it was broken, it's because your household, and your household is your body, and your brain and your mind, somewhere in those first 2 years was made to feel unsafe. This is very explainable. I have a twin. I played all the time. My imagination has no nightmares as a child because I was never alone in darkness. And that's never. From the moment I was in a womb, I was never alone. I don't know that. I don't know the very mammalian heritage that every person that is not a twin will most likely know of, which I will not ever be able to relate to. And that's from evolutionary to existential psychologists. So the mind and the brain and the body and the self are the most powerful tool that a person will have to become the seed of enlightenment that you are, to gain access to the pure soul that you are. That is that love. To the pure inner child with the functional adult who can catch the other stuff for those who need it to reparent. Okay, so no one's perfect. We're all flawed and imperfect, and the external will always have a way that they interact with you, which is why I can be the most horrible fucking human being on the face of this planet to any human being that comes across me, independently from who they are, because they will be interpreting my words, especially if they got a left bone that keeps talking over me, and if they have an insecure ego, which keeps looking at a person who has no insecurity. I have none. Maria doesn't have insecurity. I'm accepted in all of me because even if I were a cockroach as a child, I was told that I would be loved by my mother, and she allowed me to be all of me. I have an explanation for why this 3-year-old will look at you, and you will know how I'm looking at you, which is why my lovely little sister, as she points out, and all of my family members, yeah, you're basically like a mule who has no sense of listening to any of us. And I say, yep, right now I'm pissing you all off, so I think I should go. That way I can be away. And they will have their fun, and I will have my fun. But my point is, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. I'm going to say, yeah, Maria stands in her 2 feet, 2 hands, and says, sure, what's up? And that's how we all stand. It's not only one person. The difference, though, is can you be accountable? Can you regulate? Can you be objective and subjective? And when something happens where you weren't in the wrong, but you don't need to be in the wrong or the right. So there's a situation that took place. It was a long time ago. And reactivity, not really. It was a build-up. Build-up of as I'm thinking I'm having a conversation, but we're in a yelling match. And all of a sudden, I do hear my tone crack because I can't hear my voice, but I can notice. So I don't know what they heard, but I know I went up a notch, and as I'm up that notch, I'm being told, how dare you? You know, I got a person I love who's basically, you insulted me, and they're now yelling at me. The entire room is family here. And so I just realized that this wasn't a conversation I thought I was in. And that right now I have a person who I love who's offended, and they're yelling, I'm sorry, you miss perfect. You know, they're just upset. And I, in the meantime, am feeling really nauseous because I had stopped venting a while back. And whenever I feel any of the biochemistry of fear, anger, and feel like it's okay, yeah, I know what it is to be in any of that, which is a ventral vagal state of deep of emotions. But the sympathetic and the lower frequencies is how I'm going to explain it to you, make me sick to my stomach because they're down, and that's the part of where it's a poisonous energy. When you look at how a Tara Brach will explain it to you, and any of those who know the biochemistry from this anger stuff, because there's cortisol, there's whatever the mixture is. All I can tell you is I began immediately to feel sick, and I'm like, I need to leave. I also had been wearing crystals that I shouldn't have, though, and that I found out because that kept on being something present. And if we wanted, we could also bring in our lovely Stephen Porges, who talks to us about how the modulated and dysregulated, so our sympathetic again and dorsal vagal, they have a way that our body will feel. Long story short, I leave. Before the leaving of the entire situation, though, I make sure to hug the person and to apologize. And someone said to me, well, if you were not in the wrong, why would you apologize? And I said, because I am mortal, they are mortal, and I don't want us to leave where we don't have a hug goodbye. I don't give a shit about who's right or wrong. I want my family member to know I love them and that I didn't mean to offend them. That's what's of value to me. It's not selflessness. That can be considered selfish if we want. But also, that's what is value to me, my family, and I. And having a hug is more valuable than this, let me stand in a grudge or in a right or wrong, because really, thoughts and opinions, I mean, gosh darn it. People who don't continue being in relationships, doesn't matter what it is. I just find it futile, ridiculous. And then when I hear people who are actually crying about this yesterday's news, in ways that are inconsistent with what they will have spoken throughout the entirety of life of those who then left them physically, I don't like hypocrites. So for me, the facades, like my facade friend, are hypocrites, because for years you will have spoken in ways of people, and you will have thrown characterological distinctions and judgments at them. You will have criticized them in a way that showed you didn't appreciate who they were as unique people. You just had shit to say. Then they leave, and now all of a sudden they become someone you idolize and put on a pedestal and you romanticize, which Eric Fromm talks about. So there's a lovely bunch of therapists who talk about romanticizing. So you're just basically living out what is, ruminating as you suffer, in fact, and as you consistently, to me, present a contradiction because you didn't appreciate them as they were alive. Now, all of a sudden, you're appreciating who they were and what their role was. You're not objective. You're just a person who is reminiscing and living out something that you can't do anything about now. And smart therapists, again, know how to talk to you about that. What I know how to tell you is my friend called me a hypocrite because I will talk to you about science, spirituality, this, that. I will change it up because I am actively, consistently evolving with information. Anima mundi. We don't identify with any of the words that come out of our mouths because it's all data, information, not data, chit chat. It ain't an irrefutable fact. Beliefs, opinions, they're not in a way of, oh my God, if I don't stay in these 5 words or with this group, I'm done with. Our sense of self doesn't get lost because of our evolution, expansion. This is why the self of the 5D collective, it's a verb, like Dr. Daniel Siegel shares, because that's what an integrated brain with a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person is living, because our child parts are asleep. The higher self is in the lead. And here's the human elements to help you understand this. What I present to you is called healthy self-worth people who are non-traumatized because of metabolizing emotions. And so anything that comes our way can be processed, elaborated on, because our emotions don't taint it. My 14-month-old doesn't taint what I like or don't like. I will actively know what I like and don't like. I don't have to bring it into the room because I don't care to. I'm not right or wrong. I don't need this. These 2 words mean shit because, one, there's only one God, so I get to hear from God what it is. And right is very straightforward, treating people with humility, integrity, and kindness. And making sure to let my brothers and sisters have the floor, because that's what the world is. 8 billion of us. It's easy peasy. That's what healthy self-worth looks like. So yeah, people neutral. You don't have a stand. No, I don't. Actually, I don't use my body like that. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you didn't know. Yeah, so buffoons to us are the ones who are making charges their mission. And then again, like I said, there's other soul age groups. That's why the enlightenment soul age group is where I'm at. The societal and the relationship soul age group, they continue to actually be in their charges, not good or bad. They have a role in the evolution and expansion of human consciousness, as well as our societal culture. It changes. Like I said, this is where our species has done this. What we had was the Victorian era, the Baroque era, the Enlightenment era, Illuminating era. Now it's another era. So I'm really not, oh my God, what's happening to the world? Hello, they're going to write about us in history books. I mean, except for the ones who won't go to school anymore because they've decided to go only to the museums that teach them that Darwinism isn't real, that they need to not go to doctors, that they need to stay isolated and in their groups. So we know who the split's for. I mean, again, there's going to be the ones of us who advance and the ones who basically stay in. I mean, it's okay. We won't be hanging out. Effectively, those of us who are of the 5D collective are seen as yucky by those who want to isolate. Like the flat earthers, they actually just want to hang out with the ones who say, yes, we're right, versus the ones who say, okay, so listen, I know that you have a lot of questions due to the fact that, social media has opened us up to a bunch of different people and a lot of it, but don't you know about a thing? No. Don't you know about empirical quantitative quality? So I, to this day, am a lover for every single bit of those who are smart. And then I'm a lover for the ones who humor me, and we will continue coming together. So this lovely, again, equinox to the empowered ones of us, it's beneath, no, it's bejesus of amazing news and amazing not news. So like I said, there are things that happen. No, we don't have answers. But when you're doing Dharma, it's more of, I'll bring it to you God's way. I accepted God and the fate that he would decide for me. The day I said to him, I don't believe in Lucifer because I can't see him, God. He's nowhere to be found. There's cowards. That's all I see. Cowards and human suffering. I know what I promised to Jesus, and I know what I promised to you and the Holy Spirit, and those people in cloaks, they hurt children. They don't know what marriage is. They don't know integrity. They don't know that polyamory doesn't ruin anything, nor does monoamory, and that fucking has nothing to do with Lucifer. But if they only learned about therapy, but wait a minute, they decided decentralizing of the self is something bad. They decided that they don't believe that there's no Lucifer demon inside of you. They decided apparently that imagination trumps data. No, this is today where I'm sharing the added note to you all, which is where, sure, keep talking, cognitive dissonance, structurally dissociated, half-brained people, because I, again, learned what to do with ignorance. It's not bliss. It's actually ignorance for a reason. And I don't want to be around ignorant people. You dumb me down by the minute. No, you can't. You can't dumb down the people who like to learn things, which is why, excuse me, you're confusing science, spirituality. When you're confident, what happens is you have fun with people. No, I know what this is what I do. No, because I'm a mystic too. Again, this is not like, oh my God, they just told me they're mystic too. How dare they? No, it's okay, cool. So you're a Reiki practitioner as well, Akashic record. Ah, cool. So, okay, let me pause my conversation. Here's what I'm talking about. Blah, 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 blah. No. Okay, so here we go. Now, I know you all know the story. I get to see Buddha and I get to see quantum physics as I'm into quantum physics and science and stuff too. And I'm like, okay, I'm actually into this guy right now because also he honored me with this thing called my voice. He recognized my voice. I had met him the year prior and he's an amazing 4D collective human being. Mwah! But in the meantime, this is the third interruption. And as I did repeat myself, but he doesn't. That's what half-brainers do. They don't hear you. And their unbridled self-expression isn't unbridled, which is why you're not manipulating the scene, which is why I don't really give a shit. So if there's shit going on behind the scene, I won't know any because my nervous system is a ventral vagal state. And I'm having a good time. And now I'm actually curious because I'm like, I can't read your mind. Meaning I can't read your mind. And even if I could, I wouldn't want to. So I'm curious authentically, which is also why people won't, when I'm telling the story, people are like, oh, so you're pretending. No, I'm into the conversation as I'm there. And so I say, okay, you know what? Since we don't have time right now and I'm talking and there's music and I usually speak in English, how about you tell me what you are thinking? Because I bet you we are going in the same direction. And as I said to him, and as he confirmed, yes, we were. Because we were talking about the future being science dominated because it's going to prove everything, including the Big Bang. And that's where the people who didn't like to hear that are the same ones who said, no, I think spirituality will be there always. And I said, no, it's not that it's going to go away, but it's kind of like the mythological Greeks. I learned about them too. And one day that's exactly how a lot of things are going to be talked about, which is why those people in cloaks, they disregard allowing themselves to come together with other groups. This is where cognitive dissonance means that the brain is not able to capacitate information. And that's why I said, again, dumbed down. I can capacitate all information because my brain doesn't stop when you begin to give me data. I know when it's data. I know it's not. I also don't take everything you tell me as truth. Not even remotely close because you're not the experts. I'm not watching a panel of experts consistently debating each other. And when I am, I'm going to know if it's empirical data, quantitative or qualitative, because I'm going to know what to look for because I did do a master's degree. So I know what it involves. And there's a difference between becoming skeptical beyond the bejesus of me, which I don't. I mean, I'm consistently discerning. And so your word means your word. That's about it. Other than that, I don't. This is why a whole 3-year-old will be seen by anybody who has any little bit of insecurity. What are you, stupid? Because they put people on pedestals. We don't put people on pedestals. Nobody's on a pedestal. Like I continue to share, I come with spirit. The science helps me to share with you all why you can be anchored in your ventral energy. You can navigate your ventral vagal state. You can be yourself. That's what I do here at IHP. Inspire human potential. I'm Maria. You can be you. And when unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, I already said, I accept my fate with what I'm telling you, God. I don't see evil. I see human suffering, and I see close hurting children. And more than just that, I'm out because I didn't promise this to the Holy Spirit, Jesus, or you. I promised you love and kindness, and that's what I was taught by my catechist. And when I see those who want to tell people that God is going to come down with wrath on you, well, that actually, Patrick Tiahan, where are you? Thank you so much for teaching me how those who don't love themselves first are blinded and follow assholes around and allow themselves to be yelled in the face so you can make me into whatever. Sure, pass on that self-righteousness baton. Have fun, Cusco. We're not going to be there as you continue to disregard becoming I am presence, speaking the truth of your true heart, which is your higher self, which is only going to come out when you are a functioner child adult. So when I see trauma on screen, I know what to look for. When I see those who want to continue to justify it, so societal, relationship, there's other younger soul age groups that was, spiritually speaking, where I was like, okay, how I understand why they all don't move into the Enlightenment Soul Age group. It's not a special group, and the ones who want to make anything be a special group, like I continue to try and help you understand again. Again, channeled guidance, food for thought. Please remember, this is one human being who is spiritual, mystic, and sharing with you all different ideas and thoughts. And then the objective is nothing more than allowing you to sit with it. What channeled guidance you might feel is for you, you will know, because that's exactly how it works when resonating with something that you will have experienced during the equinox. Okay, so ascension energies are consistently at bay. They have been for quite some time, but my point is that the empowered feminine consistently expands and the empowered masculine consistently expands. Those who are feminines and masculines who come together, they continue to play out their karma and their fate together, and that's not destabilizing anything. Earth effectively, officially doesn't need any one of us small little specks of human beings on this fucking planet, because there's sun and there's the moon and there's all of that. So the reality is we are very small and not insignificant. I won't go down that path because we are here. But my point is, let's not make ourselves bigger than what we are, which is where ego comes into the mix. Okay, so whenever I meet teenagers, they are doing stuff like this. I will be able to be helping that which will save our planet. And if I don't do it in enough time, the planet will be unsaved. And so that's why spiritual bypassers are cleared to 5D mystic, because they are egos in town. They play... No, they're not even noticing that they don't know intelligence, source, Akash, God. You're a small speck. You're part of the plan. It's not about you, ego. 3-year-old, share the floor, come on. But it's a 16-year-old. No, they don't want to share the floor. Okay, so enough about that. I'm going to continue a little bit more. These are another 3 cards that came, so you can take a look for you who are on YouTube and for you who are on Spotify. If you're on audio, you can go and subscribe or just check out on YouTube the same title it will have. The Temple of Truth, self-expression. What I can tell you all about being an adaptive child, no, a functional child adult who meets adaptive children is that. So the adaptive child, they will wield their words to bring you where they want, but because they're in biological rudeness, they're not really actively participating. So it's once you learn the 5 hands of a person that you'll be able to understand what's happening. But because a I am presence is not interested in trying to analyze, okay? Here's where Robert Sapolsky come on in. As he points out, with determined no free will, those first 3 years. So like I told you, I have a twin. I have been used to repairing ruptures. And by the time I'm 8, I get disowned and I find out that thoughts and feelings are not irrefutable facts. Okay, and that I cannot be disowned. So you got a 3-year-old who knows, ha 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 ha, I can't be disowned. Okay, I'm just letting you understand why presented with different oversoul members didn't change shit. I am the same human being who's been building upon the happy inner child who is consistently anchored in ventral energy. The gooiness can't be broken because my childhood was child-centric with another child who I got to consistently play with and then have fights with, like cats and dogs, and to consistently be loved. That's why Robert Sapolsky's book, whether I will finish reading it, I do hope at some point, but his point is that, like all the other smart therapists who are trying to help people understand, there's no demon inside of people, but that trauma charges, they are in the muscles, bones, and tissues. That trauma time is a trauma time. Okay, so with the equinox and ascension energies, everything that comes up is wanting to be metabolized, humanly speaking, by the brain. Why? Because if you don't get your sense of self owned, core, narrative, relational, solo, you don't integrate. And without integrating all those 9 domains of integration that Dr. Daniel Siegel has taught me about, without you being able to have your personality patterns, your temperament, and that capacity to notice when rigidity comes up and chaos, and to say, I don't want rigidity, I want to be flexible, I want to learn to use my left and right together. That's the choice, but it's not something significant because you can hang out with people who are dominated not only by the same narrative that you are, but by the same mannerisms. And that's why you have a bunch of different groups, which are going to continue building. That's why they're not going to come together, and they're going to think they know how to be coherent. They're also going to think they know how to be dynamic. They're not integrated, though, because they're not pure consciousness, because they don't delight in each other and allow each other to speak with passion about everything. So when I shared with you the story I did, that's an individual who is very rigid in their mannerisms. The difference is I wasn't actively trying to yell, but I wasn't in the awareness that I was having not a conversation. And she helped me to learn how to just next time remember to try and not get this way when you're talking about, which by the way, it was work related. So personally speaking, I don't get into this except for if it's important. The only time it will be important to me to make sure that Maria can stand in her 2 feet and express her subjective opinion, it's only going to be one individual specifically. And that's because it's important for me to be able to be seen as I am. Otherwise, what are we doing here? There's no point in anything if you're not going to see all of me the way that it is that I am and wanting to. Okay, and that's, as I said, just one, because typically there's only going to be a consistent, contingent, communicating, securely attached person, whether you're polyamory or monoamory. Human beings who tend to not know what it means to be committed to their own self will not know how to commit to a person. It's very clear to a securely attached, non-traumatized, empowered man, woman, or they. We don't need somebody to spell out to me, what does it look like to find a securely attached human being? Looks like you know what vows, integrity, and being serious is, and how to be loving and accepting and welcoming and consistently present and always fun to be around. Other than that, your mood swings are not going to be something fascinating. No, because it's called you don't know how to harness your nervous system. So securely attached people know to self-regulate in their ventral vagal state, which is also why we don't spell out to you what you're doing. The ones who need help, that's why they have those other people. That's not here, as I keep sharing. I'm empowered, I'm enlightened, I'm enlightening, and the people who are going to be in the inner growth mindset, they are also here. They don't find emotions or thoughts hard. They find it appealing to do more emotions and thoughts in the ventral vagal state. So they will find it actually defeating to have been reactive like I did. It wasn't defeating though, because I was actively in the moment already looking at myself and what I had missed and how I could next time not do that because it was unnecessary. And also I didn't give a shit about right or wrong because I actively don't need to prove any of what I know. I'm not doing the teenager game. Okay, so people who want each other's thumbs up and thumbs down look for approval. Some of us don't. That's our differentiated self, 3-year-olds, which is why I keep on trying to help you understand. It's a person who loves to be around people, but we don't need you to agree with how we're thinking, feeling, our cherished beliefs. I do have a stand. It's called I don't need to make a stand with you. And the fact is that if you want me to, then I know who you are. And you just told me that you're an insecure person who wants all of your herd members to say, yeah, and you don't like that, I won't. So you're a non-differentiated self. That means you're motivated by belonging. Oh, okay. Flat earthers, where are you? Can they belong to your group so that they can get off my back because I'm not part of their group? Because I don't want to look like you, talk like you, walk like you. Okay, so again, I'm a 3-year-old who has a twin. And I was told different is not better, worse. Different, not better, worse. Different, not better, worse. Be your own self. Do your own thing. Do your own thing. Do your own... Just, I'm trying to help you understand. So when somebody looks at me as if I'm a cocky bitch, it's okay. I'm not. But hey, what? I guess that's exactly how it's going to have to be because I definitely won't do this. And that's what pisses the fuck off of people. And as a teenager, I really could care less. And now that I'm a grown-up, I'm explaining to you like a grown-up. And what I see on YouTube is definitely not a bunch of grown-ups. The ones who are grown-ups will be here and will be elsewhere where we have authentic human beings who don't need to be given an explanation for why we can stand and think and feel our own way actively. It's very funny when I hear people who want to make fun of cognitive dissonance. I don't find it funny to think of human beings who are older than I am with more certificates than I will ever have as in a cognitive dissonance without their being aware of their lack of complete... I find it... In my brain, I'm like, this is fucked up. This is so fucked up. It's not even funny. That's how my brain thinks. Okay, so like I keep sharing a little bit of this and that because food for thought. Idiots will stay idiots, and I don't learn from idiots. I take the golden nuggets. I'll identify who you are. Hey, Waldo, I'll see you later. I spotted you. I know who's coming to you. That's how it works, which is why, again, when I got taught not to be a know-it-all with God and this is for you, that was the download immediately. This is for you because you did what you weren't supposed to do. Sadhguru explains it differently because Sadhguru is with spirituality. So again, there's a difference when you are raised with God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, at least from my experience. And it's not, no, it's okay. You didn't hear me when I told you to allow yourself to just be you and let everybody else be out. And that's why Robert Sapolsky determined, because I can also bring in my mother and a twin, okay? So I can bring to you my human experience alongside my faith and spirituality. And then I can tell you about people who have cognitive dissonance and structural dissociation because it's very clear. Hey, Cusco, again, so long story short, when I meet people who are rigid and they are only working with their left brain, I find it very challenging to do anything. No, I don't. I can tell you the stories. In the moment, I don't realize what's going on. Today, I have stories that I can look and tell you exactly how they worked, okay? So when ascension energies are about, the part of what comes up, it doesn't want to go back down. And with that being said, empowered feminines, masculines expand each other. So we humble each other. We create integrity together. Okay? Practically, spiritually, there's a way that the two counterparts allow each other's best version to come forth. We have a sense of humor. This is something that doesn't get lost. Again, the ones who are not actively expanding each other, they come together because, like Terrio points out, people marry their unfinished business. Okay, so karma, fate, not a bad thing. I want to make that clear. There's not a good or bad in the land of the enlightened soul age group. There is this and that are both true. Yes, you can say positive. Yes, you can say negative. But I'm using my ventral vagal state. I'm anchored in my ventral energy. I'm using my prefrontal cortex, and I'm therefore mindfully aware. My focused attention is able to be in the complete state of awareness, which is why my personality patterns, my temperament, and me are here, like Dr. Daniel Siegel is saying. I know that it's not all of me, but it's a verb and it is here. And so I'm able to stay here because I'm not orphaned, I'm not charged, I have a higher self. I'm completely securely attached, okay? So I'm completely metabolizing this in my prefrontal. That's why I'm not clinically dissociating, and I'm actively participating with kind intention. In my case, with God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, okay? That's the beginning. And then I moved to beyond. But that beyond, as a mystic, didn't change. Beyond meant I now know of Anima Mundi. I now know how to tap into energetic imprint. I now know how to perceive it. I am expanded, Maria, not less, not changed, more. And God and Jesus and Holy Spirit are my foundation, and they have never changed. I just know I'm not welcomed by all of those who I was raised with as a Christian Catholic, because now I'm in a different group and they don't welcome me. Like when I moved into polyamory, not everybody will welcome me, and they will think that I don't know love, and they will think that I'm a whore, and they will think, and they can think whatever the fuck they want, and I don't give a shit. Because that's how it works. When you are an empowered person, you don't give a shit about another human being's subjective opinion. You give a shit about the law, and you give a shit about being a member of society, and that's very straightforward, by the way. Other than that, every group can have their own little hiatus. People that want you to take their side on things that they cherish the most don't like that. Which is why when I find someone in my entire herd, whenever I'm interacting, this has been since I was a teenager, and I'm not doing this, I learned exactly how to simply say, I guess we have differences. And I find that's okay, but maybe you don't. So I have learned how to try my best to say, I'm not accepting and welcoming you. I'm just allowing myself to be who I am. You are who you are, and then we have an exchange. So we always want to hear each other. Hearing doesn't mean that I give you my thumbs of validation, because that's not how this works. When you're differentiated selves, you come together as a mui. But sometimes spelling it out is what helps, because the non-differentiated group of people, they have a different way of being motivated. Okay, so everyone has different ways they're motivated, and if they are motivated people by bonding, that means they want you to welcome the way they think, the way they feel, the way they see, the way everything, which basically though disregards that you have a different way of all of it. And when they're not taking ownership of their charge, which they won't, because they begin to get in their little pissy pants with their throat. I don't know when I am, but if somebody points it out, I will back the fuck off because I will find it respectful to do so. But when someone's not paying attention to them getting in my face because I'm not taking your side, then you're not open to complete dialogue. You're wanting me to take your side, and you are not noticing that your sympathetic in the room is unnecessary. The sympathetic is unnecessary when you're having an exchange because you're actively alert, and you're not in any physical threat. And that's that 16-year-old, and that's that fight response. So resiliency and restorative embodiment, again, it's self-aware, accountable, regulating people who want resiliency and restorative because they want to anchor in ventral energy and be eustress. I know all about it, which is where on the external they don't know the difference. I do, because I can explain it to you. Not because I am in the sympathetic. No, I know what it was like when I was in that, or when I was navigating in those oceans. So you will know the difference as you choose to use your prefrontal, as you choose to engage in neutrality, because the neutrality is what allows your body to know, one, the land of truth, but also I'm safe to be myself. And that's because you're giving yourself the I'm good to be crooked and flawed. Fuck you, without doing fuck you. Because if you even think fuck you, you're going to share that through every single one of your pores. It's I'm okay with being me. The fuck you comes as a teenager version that's growing up to the point of where there is no fuck you. It's I'm Maria. I didn't understand. When you laugh, they don't like that. Because when you're laughing, and you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Anchored in ventral energy pisses the fuck off of the people who are not confident with anchored in ventral energy. So they will say, are you teasing me? Are you fucking making fun of me? No, I'm not. I can't convince you though. Please let me go, because really right now I don't want to be in a room with you at all. I just don't. Okay, so this is why our split. Again, at IHP, we're going to have gooey people because that's exactly who I am. I know how to share with you all when I'm handling anyone, and I'm handling them because they're actively in their throat, in their sympathetic, for no other reason except for they don't know how to use their prefrontal. And even if I tried explaining it to them, I think you want me to have only one emotion. How dare you? Life isn't always beds of roses. Yes, it is, actually. Yes, it is. For those of us who are of spirit, of source. Because we chose it? No, because some of us are that. And for those who choose resiliency with their restorative, because they're smart and they learn from scientists and then they put it into practice and they wanted it. So sense of self and whole self people want to be in eustress. The ones who don't, they don't have to. Point is, they don't want to be around us, because that's exactly how Deb Dana points out. When you're anchored in ventral energy and people are coming to you and they don't like it because they have shit going on and they're not welcoming that shit. They're just throwing their exiles and protectors at you, which is why it's called projection, which is why Patrick Tiahan, I honor him. As he presents to his community, he continues to work with the unkindness that comes forth from his childhood. People who find it boring and I keep talking about trauma, they are the exact cowards he mentions, and they are why I know who I will hang out with. Definitely Patrick Tiahan's group and him, because they know what it's like to stop projecting that which was done onto them, because they choose so, and they do take it seriously, and they don't use weaponization. They don't do that shit, because they have the community that they go to and talk to. Hey, so today this thing happened, and they do put into practice their own way of being able to be the inner adult who at one point or another, with their open-heartedness, will look at that boss who says, you're a piece of shit, and do nothing of containing, nothing, no, because he will have helped them throughout the entirety of however long the therapy takes to be able and be standing in their ventral vagal state, to be able and be a grown-up version, to be able and use their prefrontal cortex. That's why I honor Patrick Tian. So, open-heartedness is when a person has their whole child. Hypervigilant? No, you still need someone. You don't need us, and they won't want us because they will want to have hissy fits with other people. So karma and fate is very clear. They get bored of secure attachment because consistent communication with self-empowered people means that we are harmoniously going to continue to expand together. We don't need to do anything those of us who are of the community of 5D mystic and spiritual beings. And I'm going to now let you all go, because that way our channeled guidance can get shared on the audio podcast for the day. So food for thought, channeled guidance, mixed messages, meaning also stories. It's all here, and that's how it works. Do not take any of this as writing. Don't write notes down. Disclaimer, 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 just in case that's necessary, which it always is necessary because of people listening and then chiming in with their ears and not actually shh. Okay, so the food for thought is the number one thing, because I'm a human being who is sharing with you that yes, I'm mystic and spiritual, but there's no way in any way that any of us will be arrogant to the point of what I hear 4D doing. But they're not really arrogant. It's more of lost boys need Peter Pan and they need Wendy's, and they follow each other around and then they copy each other, and there's your people. So for us, it's different. And what I was trying to get to is those who will expand will be happier by the minute. Those who don't want to expand will continue wanting to use, like that Zen Master Laundry and calling life words. They also will continue to think that there's some kind of, superhero, supervillain group going on, and they don't know who God is apparently, or intelligence, or Akash, or universe. So they have to consistently have stories every time this stuff comes up. What I'm going to let you know is that for the Dharma group, like I said, things are clear for your own personal growth and spiritual growth. You will know where you have gotten and what you are getting to do. You are surrounded by people that you want in your life, that's for sure. And you are out of whatever it is you didn't find good in your life, that weren't helping you to build what future you wanted. Now, for the part about what the future holds, this is where none of us have that. That actively is the one thing that you won't ever have for your life. I mean, for me, again, it's I want to live forever. No, I want to live like a long, long time. That's my number one. If you ask me, what do you want to know? I don't want to know. I just want to live and continue to support people to be their true self and do what I'm doing. And that's, for example, very simple, right? But you know whatever it is that is yours. So everybody has a different challenge. And that challenge is not necessarily a challenge. It's simply something that is, again, I can't tell it to you. You intuitively will know it. But what I can tell you is that it's going to be okay. And that's the part of not knowing, but that you will have fulfilled what is a meaningful life in this moment with the people that are around you, with whatever it is. You will have done the best you can. You will not have I am so sorry that I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and then no. The 5D collective doesn't reminisce in this way of if they lost something. You don't lose. The ones who feel they've lost are the same ones who suffer life. The ones who learn from life, they will leave life. The very day has gone by with you feeling fulfilled, because that's restorative embodiment. It's called I am objectively aware that I accept that I have flaws, that I am crooked, and that somebody can see me as good or bad. One, I take me as I am, God, and I ask you to truly take note that I care, okay? The truly repenting is that a child will always feel a sense of guilt. Every person is still a child, even if they're armored in shut. The difference is the ones who armored in shut have a teenager who's spiteful acting out, and they left their child to rot in hell in their self-loathing and gut wrench. And so they have the self-righteousness with their blocked shame shit going on, and they're just yelling all over the place. I'm going to bring it to you, but they still have an inner child there, which is why an empowered feminine will always know that fear is fear. It's not a monster. It's an actual poor human being with self-loathing, gut wrench, and they're leading all the other ones who want to lead life the way that our ancestors did. And that's the way, again, for personal development, spiritual growth. I'm just saying it's on a one-on-one. When you look at the species as we evolve, we are changing already. There's plenty of accepted groups, and then there's plenty of ones who don't feel accepted, and then there's plenty of ones who basically don't even notice that they're playing out the same history from yesterday. That's, again, why we have other soul age groups. So the ascension energies affect all of those who are here. Nothing is going to break, though, and that's the part that I was trying to say, that at the end of the day, if you are a fulfilled person, you will go to sleep tonight knowing I did a good day. And it didn't matter what was going on. It was a good day because I got to spend it with my loved ones, and then I got to invest those 24 hours in that which I will have consciously chosen. You will be at peace with your fate, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in anything, because that's the part of the human secondary consciousness. I know that I live, and I know that I will die, and I know that I will not know. And I also will know that I didn't serve any purpose necessarily, because again, I accept I'm flawed, I'm imperfect, I'm meaningful, and I'm meaningless. I'm all and nothing at the same time. That doesn't torture my soul, because my soul is infinite, and it doesn't torture myself, because myself is whole. And myself will be whole because I own my sense of self, because my core narrative relation and soul of self is mine. And that's a securely attached, higher self person, non-traumatized. My name's Maria. I will be meaningful to those who love me, and I will be meaningless to those who I'm meaningless to. And at the end of the day, did I do something important or not? Well, who knows? But I know that I lived doing something that was meaningful to me and that I believe did bring meaning. Does that mean it's a fact? Not even close, because that's where the idiots are. Effective realism is only for the idiots, as is those who are not grounded in reality, which, as Sam Harris points out, is when whatever is cherishable to you will not be something that you can say, falsifiable. Meaning you can always know that whatever you think may not be true. That is what humility, integrity, and being able to accept that you can be crooked, and meaning that anybody can point a finger and do whatever the shit they want. And you're going to be like, well, I mean, it is what it is. You don't have a position. No, I have a position. It's called I'm the most objective of anyone who wants to give me their subjective idea of meaningful or meaningless. Dark matter, dark energy, where are you? So sciences is where I look to empirical data as objective. Other than that, it's all qualitative, quantitative, integrated, you name it. And that's how a knowledgeable brain works, which is why we make no use of people's interactions with us with their little hissy fits. Okay, so at the end of the day, God will judge that which was meaningful, meaningless when you're dead. And for those who don't believe, it doesn't matter. And even if it does matter, then you're going to be using data. And at that point, if you use data, then we have, well, let me think, because we have a bunch of different stories going on right now. Who do you think will be remembered in history as the most amazing of them all? Oh, now that one. Oh, we won't be talking about that shit, because I know exactly what I know about the future. And, here's the deal about what wit is. It's called smart people. And you're not smart if you're half a brain. You're also not smart if you're isolating, because isolation is actively the most amazing of red flags to that which masters work in very much small, contained, rigid groups. And let me tell you how to be. And so when you find those who are not expanding each other, but they're, that's called stingy. And it's called actively, not curiosity. So curiosity doesn't kill the cat. It's only the people who don't get curious. Okay, I'm going on a side note for no other reason except for hoping to help you understand self and ego work together, and it's not good or bad. It is what it is. You make of life what you want, and the ones who get pissed by this, well, they haven't gotten there yet, but it is also not something that is to be minimized. Now, when we're going through tough times, that's why it's nice to have safe haven, secure base. The healthy, self-worth, empowered masculines, empowered feminines. Our relationships are the most meaningful part of our lives, which is where, at this point, for all of the 5D collective, they are in good relationships with their family, with their friends, with themselves. They have found the meaningful, meaningless in this way. And so as ascension energies continue to come, you're building whatever it is that you want to build. The 4D, 3D collective are also building what they want to build. That's why it doesn't really matter if they isolate and the whole karma, fate stuff or not. Our books will be written, our history will be written, our future is already in the making. And the ones who don't understand that dark matter and dark energy and an asteroid could hit us, well, again, they don't believe in it. So, we leave alone the ones who don't believe in sciences because, again, smarts, it's where it's at. And when you don't find it, we don't need to be pointing it out. And also remember that we all come together with our brains because every soul age group does matter. So what I will end with is I share with you that I have a lucky and very blessed life. And I feel very, very happy to be here and honored. And then I feel always sad for the ones that are not in the same frequency. But I shouldn't, because as God says, Maria, don't judge suffering. It's not a waste of their time. They actively are in another soul age group. They actively do consistently get given opportunities, and they actively do have 8 billion people around who will welcome them, some of us, in open arms, and who will support them to grow in the restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, healthy, self-worth, empowered individuals if they want to. So we know that those who want a family like Manny, Diego, Sid, Pacha, Cusco, okay, so people who respect, accept, and welcome each other, they will be bountiful, mystic, spiritual, mindfully living, loving. And then the ones who don't want it, they will be their own group. And then we continue to vote and create systems. Or no, the systems are already created. We continue to vote and do the best that we can to continue, again, building tomorrow. So we all do have meaning, and none of us can make or break anything. It's how do we come together and how do we support each other. In my case, I support you to be yourself. And if you want to continue building more of that resiliency to the restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating life. And if you don't want to, then you just get to hear stories. And then for the ascension energies, like I said, we get to keep having different types of food for thought channeled guidance. And we might be back with something more, but only on YouTube, even though it might be shared eventually on our lovely Spotify and other podcast platforms. We'll find out, because I got plenty more cards right here. They're beautiful. What came out from my the animal spirit, where is it? I don't have the book. Right here. So this has an amazing bunch of cards, but in the meantime, I'm going to release this one. So again, our lovely earth, coherent state, we're doing a great job. Keep on working with love and knowing that your community comes together with the perception and remembrance that we'll have love and we'll have fear, and we'll continue expanding with curiosity. The right use of power, integrated brains, empowered feminines, and empowered masculines. Thank you again for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, it'll help the channel grow. If you're on Spotify or other audio podcast platforms, you could share that. And there's the paid subscription-based model content on Spotify and or the other audio podcast platforms, although I've never visited them because I use Spotify for creators from my platform. So the fan base is also an option, and we're still waiting for YouTube to roll out with tiers. Once that happens, we'll probably be rolling out with more of that. And yes, there's a Patreon, but I haven't been taking care of that one too much. So for any inquiries of mentorship, email me, or to be put on the list for masterclass and future spirit retreats and workshops, email. And I don't usually do all of this, but every now and then I'm reminded that I want to ensure you understand what you can do to reach out to me, although it's pretty clear on the YouTube channel and anywhere. So again, thanks for stopping by.